Hello, friends and lovers, and welcome back to Hades for Personal Computer Video Gaming. We're going to take out the aspect of Zeus and kind of talk about it under a very specific light here, about the 64 heat wins. That's right, wins now, by the way. If you have not seen Angelic's win, they were the first person to beat 64 heat. Totally unmodded, no mods, nothing external used whatsoever. But we also have another win by someone by the name of Juanb1. And I'll include their new win in the description if I can as well. So this is going to be a replication of that. Obviously, I cannot just beat 64 heat. I'm sorry, I'm not capable, nor do I have the capabilities to actually do so. But we can discuss it, and we can talk about why is it good, why is it strong, because it's been a little bit since we've had this discussion here. And maybe we can showcase why it is so good by playing it at a heat like 32 instead. So we have aspect of Zeus, we have Zeus's keepsake on, and here is our 32 heat selection here. And I've rigged it up so that we know that we start with explosive return, but I don't know anything else that's going to happen after chamber 1 here. Let's take a look at the hammer. So explosive return is the hammer that has been used. By the way, the second 64 heat win, it was with the same exact build using Zeus's shield. Explosive return, Zeus's boon on the special, and then you get the jolted boon basically from Zeus after that, and that's basically what you need. I mean, you hope for some other stuff, but that is basically what you need. So explosive return, your special deals 50 damage to foes around you when you catch it. So after you throw it with the special and you catch it on Zeus shield, you're gonna get a massive AoE. And you can kind of spam it on Zeus shield. Like, you can see how quickly everything is exploding. And that AoE is really, really big. And that is sort of the key behind how this is even remotely doable, to be honest. That really large AoE is just able to get rid of enemies and damage control very, very quickly. And 50 base damage is pretty good. And also, once we do get Zeus onto the special here, then that means that the lightning is going to trigger from that explosive return, as well as if enemies actually get hit by the special disc on its own. So yes, explosive return will trigger other effects, such as whatever you put on the special. So you might think like, oh, 50 base damage is kind of high. Let's put another effect. Let's put something like Aphrodite or Artemis on the special. And that'll work fine at a lower amount of heat. But it's this really that helps you get through the really high heat quickly, especially like we could just have the damage control pact of punishment on, and it would deal with it very, very easily, basically. Woo! 64 heat. Obviously I never guessed that it was going to get beaten. I certainly wouldn't have guessed that it would get beaten by someone else after the fact, but I think just seeing them kind of discover the meta, like this is exactly what's required to win, definitely helped by the community coming together and just kind of solving the riddle. Like what does it take? What's it gonna do? And once you have that out of the way, and the mystery is a bit gone, it probably puts a lot more confidence back into the players.
Hey, Baldy,
What's your favorite color, Baldy, you think? Whoop. But yeah, explosive return actually way back in the day was actually a meta really far back in early access, because the base damage was even higher, the AoE was always massive, and it was just like super easy. Now you might be thinking about the other aspects. Well, what about like Chaos Shield or Zag Shield? Because those can get explosive return as well, and they can, but you can't spam it the way you can with Zeus Shield here. Zeus Shield, you can throw and catch your shield right afterwards like that. You cannot do that with those other aspects. It just, when you throw out your special with Chaos Shield, which this does work pretty well with in general, it's still good, don't get me wrong, but it's just not 64 heat good. When you throw your special with the Chaos Shield, it just feels like it takes forever to come back, basically. Come on, Doomstone. Where's my cast? There we go. All right. I mean, you can look at that. We have just one boon, and it feels like we're kind of cruising already. We didn't get jolted here, but double strike is actually an even better boon in the long run, potentially. I know, high voltage fun, but what can you do? And you're probably wondering, well, what else do we get here now? We're kind of lucky that we got a second Zeus boon already on its own, right? Well, The thing is, and this is kind of true for speedruns too, which is that, you know, these very high heat runs are usually very straightforward. You cannot ask for too many things. You know, I see a lot of people asking me, like, what duo boons do you want with the speedrun that you're trying right now? And oftentimes the answer is like, oh, I don't really care, you know, like, or I don't know. You know, I mean, I guess if something shows up, but a lot of these things are sort of, you know, borderline one boon builds. It's usually 1, 2, 3 pieces of a combo, and that's about it. You know, Beowulf is a good example of something that really wants to try very hard to set up something like a duo boon, but outside of that, there's just not a whole lot. Duo boons are the gravy, you know, oftentimes otherwise. All right, so we do have Underworld Customs on, so I need to buy something to sell at the least, but getting Athena in the pool, you would probably... actually, good question. Would you buy Athena or Hermes here if we were doing 64 heat? I feel like I feel like you'd do Athena. I feel like you'd do Athena here. Getting Thanatos would be good. We might have to sell the Athena boon. I hope not. We don't want to sell Double Strike. What would we do at 64 though? Would we sell Double Strike? Ooh, maybe. We have Chaos here, and this is the last chamber. At 64 heat, Chaos Gates. Chaos Gates, Chaos Gates, Chaos Gates. Kind of depends. I feel like you'd never do it. I feel like you'd essentially never do it, because you're not getting that health back at 64 heat. There's no healing, there's no death defiances. It's just, and Chaos almost certainly will give you something that is going to be more painful than helpful, unfortunately. So that's pretty much never going to happen. We'll keep Double Strike either way, whether what the 64 heat decision is or not.
It's no use.
Take a peek in here. What do you got? Not worth the money. I bought an extra meg. We need, if we really want a boon to sell, you can do this. But you wouldn't do this. I mean, we have plenty of time, obviously.
What's this?
Get him, wretches, now.
Here, but you wouldn't normally at 64 heat. I guess I don't need to. Oh god. We're fine. All right, there we go. Hey, Zag, man. All right, so we kind of don't want premium vintage. Unless I'm really okay with selling the dash here. Is premium vintage that worth taking? It's a lot of health, that's for sure. And it's a free palm of something. 2/3 chance of hitting something useful. We don't need the dash, right? Ah, screw it. We'll play it. Oh, you know what? Maybe I could have taken premium vintage and just prayed that we'd get a free boon here as well, right? Now, extra dashes would be absolutely massive here.
Let's see what else.
Assuming you only have one. Even if it's only +1, it's just, like, I mean, it is what it is, you know what I mean? Maybe it's weird that I'm talking about 64 heat as if we're playing it. I have no plans of attempting it, in case you somehow think that I do, or that it's ever a goal of mine in this game. I'll leave that to the mad lads, you know what I mean? I'll leave it to them. Doodle doodle doo doo. Oh, oh. Woo! All right, all right. There used to be this wacky bug. I know, it's just me reminiscing now. There was this wacky bug. It's hard to explain, but it was specifically around explosive return. Way back in early access. I think it might have even been before aspects were out. Really want more Zeus, but we can't force more Zeus. What are we selling? After party. Beautiful. What's in here? Chaos Gate. You have an extra meg already. I don't want to buy the other. Mom Pom is usually wrong, but yeah, I'm gonna stop treating it like it is 64 heat, because it's just not even comparable, honestly. Instead, I'll shift the conversation to me reminiscing about things that don't exist anymore. So, way back in the day, early access, before aspects existed for each weapon. I don't know if explosive return was new or what, but there was this really strange bug where if you started a run on the shield and you got explosive return, and then you proceeded to hit start and hit give up and return to the house after doing... Oh, wait, sorry. You also needed Dionysus on the special, meaning hangover damage on your special, which is not a combo that you normally want. I think this was discovered because someone posted it on the subreddit, but I can't totally remember now. So you'd have to get Dionysus on the special. You'd have to get explosive return on the shield. And then if you hit start and you hit give up after that point and start another run with the shield, your special would sometimes apply hangover to enemies still. Weird, right? Not really certain how that worked. And I'm not certain why. It might have been that you needed explosive return in the subsequent run too. I can't remember now, honestly. So maybe it was something that stuck to explosive return in particular. I'm not sure. But here's the thing. The damage from the hangover was exponentially increased by God knows what number. So you would hit enemies for thousands with the hangover damage. Maybe I can insert a clip here of it ticking, because there are some old glitch speedruns on my channel from way back in the day where this gets used. Of course, the quality is going to be terrible here, though, just so you know. Yeah, we're taking Ares, I guess, here. Ugh, nothing good. This isn't pommable, so that's a pretty good one. We can always sell it, you know. Yeah, we don't... If Zeus was in that trial, we'd probably go that way, but Zeus is not in that trial. So that is all 4 gods. Zeus, Athena, Ares, and Dionysus, so we won't be getting any new gods offered besides those 4 at this point. And it's kind of a good thing. This is a rather advanced strategy that you don't really have to think that hard about. I mean, I don't think about it most of the time, honestly, but if you want more boons from one particular god that you already have, it is best to fill the god pool, as we call it, meaning get 4 gods so you cannot see more. And that way, you're less likely to be offered a new god, because the game kind of tries to push you towards new gods, essentially, instead of gods you already have, if you don't already have 4. That's kind of a tough choice. Give me the shop. I'm sure Zeus will appear again. I'm sure of it. Guaranteed. Guaranteed.com. You are not Zeus. We already have 1 boon to sell? Yeah, I can sell another. Oh, crud. Well, I'm not going to buy Dionysus now. I would have considered if Zeus was on the door. We got scammed. So, I mean, this gets better if we get jolted, but besides that, I mean, you can get the legendary too, obviously. More Zeus equals more good. But it's not a big deal. I mean, we're kind of like cruising through it now, you know what I mean? It's not a 1-button build by any means, but... Oh, I forgot to use Meg. Kind of forgot. Or did we? You know, it's no Rama level of cheating, and I'll admit you probably see a lot of Zeus on the channel, but it just so happens that Zeus is sort of the way for a lot of different builds. I mean, I would make the argument that Zeus is the strongest god in the game. Pretty easily, too. Yeah, we'll take the call. It'll do something for now. So yeah, you might be wondering, well, what kind of duo boons you want again. And again, I don't really think too hard about duo boons unless there's... Usually the run either revolves around a particular duo boon, or I kind of don't think too hard about them. They're fun to get. I mean, I like getting duo boons, don't get me wrong. But I think it's kind of a trap to think that you always want to be going for one in particular and having a focus on them at all times. They're typically just very situational. You know, the majority of duo boons are just super situational, and you only want them under specific circumstances. Or even more so, you can only get them under very specific circumstances, you know? Like, I could have taken Trippy Shot back there, right? From Dionysus. That would have opened up the Scintillating Feast duo boon between Zeus and Dionysus, but Trippy Shot is going to do a lot less for me than the call, and the duo boon isn't really going to help the situation. So I'd be going for two more boons to do even less than the 1 boon. Does that make sense?
I'll take it.
I'm buying this, but I'm probably gonna sell it. Or it's just another possible sell, because I'd rather keep the call at this point. I've been betrayed for not taking that, whew. So I'm kind of just mashing my thumb on the special and the attack in moments like that, at least. Sometimes I'll think a little bit harder, and you can leave your shield out there for a little bit longer. You might not be able to do this as much. Hello? There we go. And I'm kind of just dashing when need be. Learning's a bit easier for something like this. But yeah, you could even skip the attack in some ways. You gotta have big thumbs for this bad boy, though, you know what I'm saying? Woo! There we go. Shazam. This is definitely like a super easy way to go about
Bashing heads for now.
if you want your 32 heat win, because you can also cheese it up kind of thing by throwing out the special, charging up your bull rush, and then just kind of like going back and forth between it and trying to lure enemies into it. It's definitely this is a decent way to beat 32 heat. I've always had kind of a struggle with Zeus Shield to manage the special while also, you know, like doing everything else that you need to in the game. Let's see. We're gonna sell the attack.
There goes that one.
I think we sell the attack out of those. Pretty sure. Not that good. You don't have to have an attack. I know I use the attack, but it's not a big deal. I had a friend, maybe I think, okay, I have a confession. I have a friend who recently got into Hades for the first time. I've known this guy for 20 years, and he just got into Hades for the first time, even though I've been telling him to play it for like 4 years. You know what I mean? Well, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, he just got into it, and he's been asking me like a lot of questions and stuff, and he shared a couple windscreens and everything like that. And he shared a windscreen where he had, you know, like a bunch of boons that kind of probably didn't do anything. Like he said he won because he got hunting blades. If you don't know what hunting blades is, ooh, 3%, is that still worth it? I don't know. It's the duo boon that turns slicing shot into homing and stuff. Really good, very strong, great and stuff. But he had like an attack boon and a special boon, and he had some palms on it too and stuff like that. And he's like, well, I thought I needed to like spread out the love or whatever. I was like, nah, you don't gotta. You definitely don't gotta. Yeah, it's sort of there is like an essence, like you might maybe want to throw in certain boons. Ugh. I guess pulverizing blow. You want to fill certain slots. Oh, come on, you do this again to me, game. All right, I'm not gonna fall for it this time though. You want to fill in slots to get a higher chance of getting offered other boons, but that's like kind of an unnecessary strat most of the time. But generally, like, just get the boons that actually do something. Now, obviously, when you're new, you're just not going to know what that is. So experiment, have fun with it and everything like that. But yeah, don't feel like you're doing anything wrong if you don't have an attack boon for certain runs. Especially when you know you're not actually going to use it very much. You know what I mean? All in on those one-note builds, you know? That's me. Do. So the Dionysus call is actually probably makes a lot of sense if we are emulating 64 heat in some way. That would definitely be one of the boons that you really hope to get. Well, I guess we're taking Splitting Bolt. Against a common Jolted? Ooh, more Zeus. Thank you very much. This took a little bit to come together. Yeah, Dionysus's call is definitely just one of the better calls and just boons, single boons in general that you can get. Again, it's about getting like a single usable boon that is gonna be very impactful, and Dionysus's call is basically that.
How about a different set of choices then?
Jolted, hello. High voltage, while fun, doesn't actually do a whole lot. All right, we did eventually get jolted though. Ah, screw chaos. We don't need them. We don't need them. All right, so now we're really gonna be packing a punch here, you know what I mean? So yeah, forgive me if I talk about, like, I hear new players say this or that, but really I'm just talking about my friend Ryan, you know what I mean? From that one perspective that I have. But, you know, it's very revealing to hear some of these questions. Like, I don't really think about it from that. I can't put myself in those shoes anymore. That ended a long time ago, you know what I mean? So it is actually helpful to get that perspective at moments, you know? And there are games like Risk of Rain 2 is a game, right? If y'all have played it, where you kind of want to increase your stats on a more leveled playing field in a lot of ways, and just, you know, like you get some attack speed and some damage, and then you get like the boss damage, and then you get AoE and stuff like that. Hades is not necessarily like that, you know. There are like certain functions you look for depending on certain situations, but it's not really the same. It's more about increasing 1 to 2 aspects of Zag's kit to a very powerful place, you know what I mean? I think that's sort of a better way to describe it. I mean, it's possible to have more than one, but typically you kind of just want to focus on one, I think. You know, like if you have Arthur's sword, you're just going to be swinging that sword really hard, and so that's where you want to put all your stock, right? Yeah, I guess we'll take some evasion here. We don't really need more Athena, although I kind of need boons to sell, don't I? Woo! Doo-doo. Thank you. So everyone wish Ryan luck on his Hades adventures. I mean, he got his first win, he said, after like, I don't know, like 10 tries or something. It's like, did you cheat? And he's like, no, but I watched a video of yours. It's like, okay, that's cheating. No, I'm just kidding, really. Yeah, just keep doing double strike for the flashy numbers maybe here. I guess we'll do max health. It's fine. Woo! Yeah, so now, like, me hitting the attack button is just kind of doesn't matter. I mean, I can sit here and charge a bull rush after throwing out the special, but I kind of care more about just mashing the special button to try to get it back as often as possible. Getting more instances of damage, like with all this Zeus stuff, that's going to charge up our call even faster. Yeah, we'll take the free Athena, because there's really nothing left that we want that's going to make our build substantially better. We can get like Proud Bearing here. I mean, that doesn't really do anything. We're definitely not swapping, that's for sure. I mean, this works fine, just to be clear. Like, this is a good build, but it's not 64 heat, you know what I mean? That's not a 64 heat build. Exposed isn't going to do anything here. Explosive Return cannot backstab because it's an explosion. Generally speaking, in Hades, if you're exploding with something like Rocket Bomb, Cluster Bomb, Exploding Launcher, it cannot backstab. There might be some exceptions to that. I'm not positive. Try to group him up here for Dionysus's call. Come on, buddy. Spinning. Okay, Theseus down. Good timing. Paul was kind of building up too much. So why is Dionysus's call so good? It is probably the highest DPS call for a single use. And that's important because you need those single uses on the call to be good. That's why Aphrodite's call is not very useful for, say, speedrunning or high heat, because you need to get it to full to make it particularly useful, or to at least make it deal damage, you know what I mean? So using your call in a single use, you know, you're maximizing your DPS. You're able to use it in small chambers to great effect too, because in smaller chambers, you probably aren't going to get a max call every small chamber, right? Also, when you use your call, whenever you use your call, whether it be a single charge or a max call, you get what they call iframes during that moment, and it's almost like you get a tiny bit of invincibility. So it's similar to almost getting an extra dash in that sense.
Could use the extra column.
So you can save that for an oh crap moment, right? When things are getting dicey, or if you know a move's coming out and you're not going to have the dash up for it or whatever, you know what I mean? If you can think that far ahead. I'll leave Mob Palm on. You definitely wouldn't normally want to do that, but that's okay. What? Oh. Da -da -da -do -do -do. I got that song stuck in my head so bad. I don't even think it was playing. I think the wife and I were in the car, and I had to hit the brakes a little hard, and she goes, "What-oh?" And I just started segueing into that song all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Iconic crush of the 1990s, right? Yeah, I think getting jolted up now is a good idea. We already have the Zeus Lego. Lego. Totally crazy.
No way.
Jolt to go up more. Okay, beautiful. What else can I say about the 64 heat runs at this point? What haven't I discussed? I mean, I can keep talking about it in a general sense. Like, we get a lot of questions like, are we sure this is the only viable build? All this, all that. Actually, there have been some more modded wins by a runner who is dead set on trying to beat it with, like, every god on Zeus's special. So, Explosive Return is still there. Aspect of Zeus is still used, but using a different god in the special besides Zeus. And I don't know, I think they still have some to go, but they've done it with several more, which is pretty crazy. You got to be exceptionally good at this aspect, to say the least, to have that capability. So that's definitely an interesting aspect of it. So they are able to prove to us that there is a bit more still, perhaps. There's a bit more possibility, but we're still kind of locked into at least the idea that aspect of Zeus with Explosive Return is the way to do it. And so the easiest way to answer why is it this? Why this? You got to remember a few things. And the biggest thing as to why it has to be this aspect, or at least a shield aspect, is the fact that you only have one dash. With only one dash, you kind of need something else to get you out of harm's way, or to block harm also. So that's where the shield comes in, where you can just start blocking. You can also use the bull rush to get a little bit of movement at the same time. And that's essentially a necessity at this point, unless something else gets discovered in the meta shifts. But it seems like that's just sort of what you need. Theoretically, Zag aspect on the shield is probably not that far off from being able to do 64 heat. I think 63 heat was beaten with Zag aspect on the shield, if I remember correctly. Explosive Return. I mean, there's another really, really strong, damn it. Oh, that stung. Hammer on the shield, and that is Charged Shot. And I think that's what won the Zag shield heat record, if I remember correctly. So that's a really powerful one. But that uses the attack, and you have to charge up the bull rush, and it is definitely, I guess we'll try to get high voltage or billowing strength or something here. I can definitely see why. I actually probably would have guessed that that would be closer to correct, but probably the reason why that's not even that's kind of considered second to something like Explosive Return probably comes down to the AoE aspect and being able to clear rooms quickly enough. You know, so we've kind of solved why does it have to be a shield aspect, and that's because of the single dash that you have at 64 heat. So why does it have to be aspect of Zeus? And that comes down to, I think, like we discussed, being able to spam that special while also being able to charge a bull rush. So, well, you kind of get two avenues here. Two avenues, you know what I mean? Because you can have a bull rush while also throwing out the special. That's why Chaos Shield is not really good enough for this, because you cannot charge a bull rush while your special is out in the air, unfortunately. Come on. Man, they're just going and going. High voltage. Danger. When is this over? Oh my god. So let's see. So why Zeus on the special? That's mostly because of damage control, I think. That's a big reason as to why Zeus on the special is the right way to go, because you need the knockoff damage control at 64 heat, you know what I mean? Also the fact that getting jolted is a big increase in power, and it just seems it's not really that this is the most powerful setup in the game, to be clear, because it's not the most powerful setup in the game, but it is probably the most powerful setup with so few boons and or palms necessary, if that makes sense. Because 64 heat, it was all about trying to figure out how powerful can we get with the smallest setup possible, and this was basically the answer. We can buy both of these. Jolted or special, kind of go either way here. Actually, the call was probably correct, honestly. We do still have a Meg. That took a bit of work, though, huh? This is extreme measures for. We had a ton of palms. I mean, we had Mob Palm on from Asphodel, so that'll do it. Let's do our best. Let's do our best. So I think that's the best way to sum it up. So we would get a lot of questions after the 64 heat one came about. What about this aspect? What about this thing? What if you got this duo boom? What if you got this legendary? So it's like, I mean, sure, hun. I mean, those things would be great to get, you know what I mean? But double approval process on, and no rerolls because of routine inspection. It's just like those things just don't just happen, you know, unfortunately. But let's go. I might play a little bit safer now, finally. Come on, Daddy. Where are ya? Whoa. Kind of forgot I had a third dash there for a sec. Butterfly ball. Whoa. Okay. Come on, get rid of at least one of them, thank you. This is when we throw out our Meg. Okay, we got boiling blood. It's okay, though. Sneak. Thank you. All right, so we'll try to line up our spinny disc here so that it just sits on top of Dad. A lot of times he will just sit in place and start healing at the start of oh, wait, sorry, not this phase. I'm thinking of the second part of phase 2. See if we can dash behind here. It is hitting. Okay, but then I got hit a lot. Now is when he usually heals very, very often at the start of this. So I'm just gonna sit here and spam. Woo! Here comes Serby. We'll just wait for him to throw. Whoa, that almost got me. All right, buddy. Same thing. Try to line it up. You got to be the perfect distance here. It's really hard to see him over it all. So many effects, right? And he's gone, baby. Woo! It's powerful, right? It's powerful. If we kept that Ares attack boon, it probably would have been pretty nice to have been able to have kept that, I gotta say. What can you do, though? What can you... I don't know what the other sell options were at that time, but... Shazam. No title? We got totally scammed out there. You gotta be kidding me. Okay, so again, I mean, I guess I don't need a recap. I've been repeating myself all day here. Where's Jolted? That's the big thing. I mean, double strike is great and everything. 64 heat, you would not be expecting that. I would say that Oh, I still didn't highlight jolted. Like if you had this on a windscreen for 64 heat, you're sitting pretty. Obviously the legendary is probably way too much to ask for, you know what I mean? But it's fun. It's fun to kind of theory craft about these things and discuss them. So if you got thoughts, you got ideas, let me know in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.